Nobody cares how you move the camera. They care how the camera movement made them feel. We're spending way too much time talking about dollies and new gimbals when we could just be talking about camera movement as punctuation. Here, let's get into it. It's not that complicated. We've been bombarded with all this information about new gimbals or why to move the camera or how this jib can do this for you, or hey, it's the new RS4 Pro, it's the new RS5. It's so much stuff on the internet that might make you feel overwhelmed. But camera movement is not that complicated. This isn't something that I just learned in school. It's something that I've learned and put to practice over years. If a scene ends with a punctuation, that camera movement should be punctuated. And what I mean is, if it ends with an exclamation mark, maybe that camera movement should end with an exclamation mark. Maybe it should be following something. Maybe it needs to turn, or maybe it needs to have handheld movement that crashes in. If it ends in a period, maybe it should stay static. Maybe it should just drift softly. Now, that might be the simplest way of thinking about it, but this industry is not that complicated. We're just trying to tell stories and create emotions for our viewers. First, some coffee. I've got Blip Roasters, new in Kansas City. They're not new in Kansas City, it's new to me. Gotta love a clear plastic bag. Dude, this is their India Karnataka. This is India Karnataka. I might have spent a little too much time in the film portions of my school versus my grammar and English portions of my school. But we all got our strengths and weaknesses, don't judge me. I know some of you guys want me to cut this portion of the videos, but hey, I need this coffee for me so I can speak better for y'all. Plus, this is a small, subtle motif where this is a chance of having coffee together. Many of the times I'm meeting, new crew people, directors and producers, we're meeting over coffee. How do I do that to the World Wide Web? Well, I'll upload to YouTube and have a little segment where I'm drinking coffee at a table. That's my subtle approach to this. But in reality, it's the morning and I need some coffee. It's not as simple as if there's a period, that means you gotta be on sticks, or if there's an exclamation mark, that means you have to be handheld. But there's a reason why people put this in the script, and for you to draw out and help bring to life into the story. This camera is for our viewers to experience. This is for us to help them understand the story even better. So when you're just moving everything on a gimbal, then nothing is moving because it's all the same thing and there's not a differentiator. Like for me in this project, everything starts ethereal and smooth and nice until one moment the reality sinks in and we go upside down. Now, we actually had to use a very creative camera rig that they didn't quite feature to the extent that I'd wanted. It's a rig where the camera can be placed and we can spin the whole thing 360, as many times as you want, as long as there's no cables attached. I think it's made by MoveCam. And what we wanted to do was crash out to the right and then return back in from, left back to right. And that was just our way of saying, hey, it's not reality. Here's the reality of what teachers go through during back to school preparation, which many of you guys might be doing here soon. It's raining and it's hot, so I might be a little glistening. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Needs a little more ice. I'm not just gonna leave it there at punctuation and exclamation marks. We're gonna talk a little bit also on why you need to bring LEDs over HMIs and why when the director gives you a new script, back of the page, and it's got 100 more shots, why you don't say, hey, I wasn't prepared for that. You say, okay, let's make this work. All right, let's get into it. So you get the set, you've got your JL Fisher, you've got your Cine Saddle or Easy Rig, and of course you got that fun contraption, the MoveCam. And you have your shot lists that are ready to go, and you've already pre-planned, you've scouted, but now it's towards the end of the day, and the director pulls out, oh, by the way, we've got this 20 more shots we need to get to help continue to create this chaos that we did not know before getting to the set day. A younger cinematographer might be thinking, how do I make these all look like bangers? How do I all make these look like things for the reel? When reality, especially according to the scene, it is chaos. This lady's running through her classroom trying to get prepared, and so can the camera movement. You're trying to tell an overall story, whether that be a narrative or a commercial, and you're making sure that the audience is reacting appropriately. And luckily for us, narratively, in my opinion, when she's prepping her room, she doesn't need to have her overhead lights turned off. She can leave those on because she's preparing for her room. Thus, we already got our starting spot of enough exposure, in this classroom. So I knew I didn't need to make each and every scene like a perfectly dialed in key light meets edge light and shadow side. It was about the ability to move quickly all throughout the space. We already had our background lights coming in through a window, and we had a rolling around key lights. And so that's pretty much what we had to do. And I think a younger version of me might've been like, okay, cool. Well, now we need an edge light, this, that, and the other. And now we just spent 30 minutes and we still have 19 shots to go. And we just knocked out one. Versus, I know this is gonna take 2 seconds, 1 second to 2 seconds in this frame. And it narratively already makes sense that the scene is in a classroom, so there's exposure kind of broadly everywhere. Let's just bite down on that like bite block and say, cool, this is what this shot calls for. I know personally, I'm always trying to make the best thing possible, but sometimes narratively, this scene was a period and not an exclamation mark. One more tip about this coffee, not about the coffee itself, but the coffee glass. Since I am shooting these by myself, I set this on the table. I use the camera to use a focus mark, and I pretty much, if that's in focus, I should be in focus. So the coffee is not only just a metaphor for having coffee with me, but it's also a tool for me to get a focus mark for this general plane where my face is gonna be. So yeah, I gotta keep the coffee, because if I don't, I have to just guess where my focus is gonna be. That's just besides the point. I needed to make sure you viewers out there know that this is raw, it's just me, just having fun, communicating some ideas that I've learned over the years, and I'm having fun doing so. One little pro tip that I learned from this project, that when it's a small enough ad, you just kind of have to bite the bullet and realize, man, I wish I prepared. Here's a little pro tip. So here's a little pro tip that most of us already know and probably already apply to on every single commercial or narrative project. And that is to check the gear before and after every day, especially the before. According to my gaffer, our HMIs were working when he loaded the truck, and then when we needed to fire them in the scene, they were not. And I was really leaning heavily on this lighting instrument. But when you're dealing with small crews, you can't just like, okay, cool, now run to the truck, get the light bulb, take it, come over here, troubleshoot, try to figure out this problem, especially if we're running up against the clock. When you arrive to set that day, have your gaffers pull out the lights and make sure they're sparking. That way you won't like show up to the scene when you're like, all right, cool, the lights are in the right place, all right, now fire them up, and they're not firing. And you were really leaning in heavily on needing that extra light. So this is a tip or reminder for me, honestly, on one of the reasons why I'm moving more towards LEDs and why they're a little bit more consistent when those moments. I mean, there's more components in HMIs, from the bulb to the ballast to just the ability of things to get a little loose. And of course the glass in the front versus our LEDs that are a little bit more consistent. In that moment when the light wasn't working, I didn't look at my gaffer and say, you did this to me. I take that as the DP, the head of the crew department, say that's on me, it's okay. Things will still look good. And you also have to put that mask on so that you don't turn to the director like, this looks like shit. We're ruined, we shouldn't record, we should give up and walk away. No, this is like, all right, it'll still look good. I mean, the Video Village, they don't know any different, they love it. You just have to protect your crew, plan ahead, and just test those LEDs when you arrive to set. And one little small bonus pro tip, if you've got windows you're trying to push light through and they're tinted, whether it be an office building or a car, double the firepower. Those tinted windows, plus with color, another reason pro for LEDs is you can dial in that color or counteract that color. Tinted windows really put a damper on the amount of output you're hoping to get for these scenes. I'm happy with the product and quality of work we got from this project. But there was a few moments when I would have been a little bit more stoked to see stronger rays of light coming through. All right, back to it. To recap, Camera movement isn't just punctuation. It isn't just a period means a sticks or a Danadali push or a jib arm or even a fisher coming down nice and smooth like we did in the opening scene. And an exclamation mark doesn't just mean chaos and handheld or cine saddle or that crazy move camera roll. But camera movements are our way of making an audience feel a certain way. Like I said in the beginning, audience don't care what kind of camera movement you use, they care about how they made them feel. And one of the simplest ways to understand how we need to make them feel is look at the punctuation. Understand that this scene calls for an exclamation mark. It calls for camera movement that supports something dramatic. Or ended in a period and it calls for us to have something more reserved. Well, if you want to see more of my work, you can check out stevencgreathouse.com. Thanks for watching. Peace. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Peace.